South Dade man wins legal battle over secret recording of police chief. By J. Weaver. J. Weaver at MiamiHerald.com. LinkedIn. Google+. Pinterest. Reddit. Print. Order reprint of this story. James Eric McDonough, who lives in the Homestead area, was arrested 3 times by police on minor charges that were later dismissed. When McDonough complained about a specific officer involved in his arrests to the Homestead police chief, the city's top cop invited him to his office and also allowed an internal affairs detective and a friend of McDonough's to attend the 2014 meeting. Unbeknownst to Police Chief Alexander ROLLE Jr., McDonough secretly recorded a portion of the meeting on his cell phone and then published some of it on YouTube. ROLLE later claimed he didn't know the conversation was being recorded. McDonough soon received a threatening letter from the Miami-Dade state attorney, saying the office would charge him if he did it again because his recording was made without the required consent of the other party under Florida law. Now, after suing State Attorney Catherine Fernandez Rundle and winning his case at the Federal Appeals Court in Atlanta, McDonough is savoring last week's legal victory, a precedent that could have implications for everyday citizens who surreptitiously record public officials in seemingly private meetings in Florida. "I still can't believe I beat KFR," McDonough, 39, who represented himself on the appeal, told the Miami Herald Thursday. "I think the appeals court decision gives the right to citizens to record any public official as long as it is in the performance of their official duties." The 11th Circuit of Appeals panel, in a 2-1 vote, found that McDonough did not violate the consent provision of Florida law on recording phone or in-person conversations because the Homestead police chief did not openly indicate it was a private meeting. The panel ruled the chief had no expectation of privacy, the Florida statute did not apply to McDonough, and the government's threatened prosecution has no basis in the law. It is therefore clear to us that because Chief ROLLE failed to exhibit the expectation of privacy that is required by the statute, the government is not entitled to invoke it and McDonough did not violate it, according to 2 of the appellate judges, Peter Fay and Barrington D. Parker Jr. The Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office declined to comment about their decision. Catherine Fernandez Rundle. Miami-Dade State Attorney Catherine Fernandez Rundle speaks at a news conference last year. Matthias Jayachner, Miami Herald. The McDonough dispute recalls a similar South Florida recording case, though far more sensational, from 12 years ago that ended tragically. Arthur Teal Jr., a former city and county commissioner who was under indictment on charges that he took bribes while in office, shot and killed himself on July 27, 2005, in the Miami Herald lobby shortly after talking by telephone to then Herald columnist Jim DeFeed in a rambling, emotional conversation. DeFeed was fired later after telling executives he had taped Teal without his consent. The state attorney's office found the secret taping was an illegal intercept, but chose not to charge DeFeed, noting that he and Teal were friends and there appears to have been no malicious intent on the part of Mr. DeFeed to violate the privacy rights of Mr. Teal, or to utilize the tape for any commercial purpose or to harm or to embarrass Mr. Teal. Under the Federal Appeals Court's latest ruling, it would now be open to interpretation whether DeFeed's secret recording of Teal was indeed an illegal intercept. In the McDonough case, the state attorney threatened the Redland father of 3, a federal employee who has a doctorate in chemistry, with prosecution for secretly recording his meeting with the Homestead police chief. In her 2014 letter, Fernandez Rundle cited the Florida statute, which prohibits any party from intentionally intercepting any wire, oral or electronic communication without the consent of the other party. The following year, McDonough sued Fernandez Rundle in Miami federal court, claiming the statute did not apply to him and that the threat of prosecution violated his First Amendment right to free speech. U.S. District Judge Cecilia Altonaga found the Florida recording law applied to McDonough's situation and then held that it did not violate his constitutional right because the meeting with Chief ROLLE was in a police station. Altonaga found that prohibiting covered recording in a police station is reasonable and viewpoint neutral because the purpose of a police station is to carry out law enforcement responsibilities, according to the appeals court's summary of her ruling. McDonough challenged that decision to the Federal Appeals Court, which did not rule on the First Amendment issue, focusing instead on the Florida recording law itself. The appeals court concluded the state law does not apply to the recording of all oral communications. It is expressly limited to communications uttered by a person exhibiting an expectation that such communication is not subject to interception, the appeals court found. The Florida legislature did not want expectations of privacy to count that remained unexpressed, as in the case of the Homestead police chief's meeting with McDonough. Consequently, the legislature imposed a simple rule that the expectation be exhibited. At no point did Chief ROLLE, or for that matter, any participant in the meeting exhibit any expectation of privacy, the appeals court found. Although that easily could have been done, Chief ROLLE set no ground rules for the meeting he elected to call. The two appellate judges also found that the public nature of this meeting became all the more evident when Chief ROLLE allowed a friend of McDonough's to join them at the police station. Lastly, the judges noted the internal affairs detective told McDonough that we have all of this meeting recorded. The appeals court sent the case back to the federal court in Miami for further proceedings, if necessary, consistent with this opinion. In a dissenting opinion, however, a third appellate judge sharply disagreed with his colleague's interpretation of the Florida recording law in McDonough's case. Chief Judge Ed Carnes noted that his colleagues effectively ordered federal Judge Alto Naga to declare that McDonough's secret recording of the police chief does violate the Florida Wiretap Act and that she should block the state attorney's office from prosecuting him. As a result, Carnes said the appeals court's ruling violates Florida's sovereignty under the U.S. Constitution. In order to comply with this court's remand instructions, the district court will have to do what the Supreme Court has unequivocally held that federal courts cannot do, which is to lecture state officials on state law, Carnes wrote. If Fernandez-Rundle prosecutes McDonough for his covered recording activities, this appellate court says, she will not be conforming her conduct to Florida law. Carnes concluded the appeals court should instead decide McDonough's constitutional free speech issue and not instruct Florida officials how they must read the law of that state. J. Weaver, 305-376-3446, at J. Weaver.
That's why I was saying, I believe if you went to the mayor, you went to people and everything, but nobody did anything. But if you got to me, he'd have been calling my office the next day. If you would have contacted me when this first started happening, we would have dealt with it, because I told him that we had a school teacher call me, because one of our police officers live here. He called me and said that the officer had a conversation with him because he did the same thing. Well, we called him right back the same day, and we dealt with that. And brought the officer in and pretty much told him, look, you don't handle it like that. We told him how to deal with it and everything. He know we don't play games, and that went away, supposedly. And have you had a problem with him since this thing went down?
Last Friday, he drove past my house chirping his siren and gunning his engine.
Okay. Should have called right away, because even though I got a picture of it, that's not enough to...
I called you about 30, 45 minutes after that and left a message to have this meeting with you today.
Oh, okay.
I did call, right?
Oh, okay. Well, good, because I was out of town. I don't know where you're going to go with the rest of this, because I'm going to take care of my part.
Yeah.
And my part is that I'm going to bring him in and tell him that he's a cease and desist. Any dealing with you, going to your house, or whatever he's done and everything, I'm going to let him know that today.
Yeah. And
he know when I tell him that, I'm serious. You won't have no more problem with him. After 2/7? Day to 7, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was last Friday.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm gonna do is let you know right now. See, I can pretty much deal with what happened from this point on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna bring him in. I'm gonna let him know that the foolishness needs to stop. Okay, point blank. I did that before, because I don't need this kind of foolishness going on. If he going to his house, you find another way to go to his house. Not go by yours, and don't cause no problem with you. That's gonna be told to him today.
Okay.
And because I don't play games like that, and they know I don't. But quite naturally, I'm gonna do my job, and I've done it. And when people bring stuff to me, I don't care how minor it is, how serious it is, I'm gonna address it. if I find one of my guys retaliating on somebody in this community, he's history. He's out of the door. I don't play that. It's wrong.
He's like my really good friend.
Yeah, I know, but he's not going to have no retaliation. I don't play that. And I let the guys know. No. And I want to let them know. When I say it, it's over. But I'm just saying, I don't know where you want to go with this now, but I can assure you as of this date, by you coming telling me, because, see, he's contacted the mayor, he contacted a lot of people and everything, which was fine, but I was telling them that until they get to me, and you know I'm not just kidding, it ain't nothing going to happen.
Were you aware of anyone other than Edna Marie from an assistant position, who was brought in to IA for the purpose of assisting with the document destruction?
I knew now, but then, no, had no idea.
Okay, so now I'm assuming you know that Chris Dahmer has indicated he assisted.
Yeah, I heard he was. I heard he was assistant. I didn't even know he was down there.
Okay, and you know Chris though.
Yeah, I hired him.
Right, and he's no longer with the department.
No, he's no longer.
Right, and he resigned. I think he moved out of South Florida.
I'm not too sure. I mean, he went somewhere. I think it was another department.
Right. Well, but he left in good standing with the city.
Yeah, he left in good standing.
Okay. First of all, and other than perhaps in preparation for today's deposition or this case, had you seen these documents before?
I did.
Okay. And is that your signature on each of the first 7 pages of the records disposition document?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And you'll see a signature below that. Do you recognize that to be Marie Kent's signature?
I'm assuming it is. Looks like a signature.
Okay. And you'll see to the right a signature, and underneath printed Edna Marie Hernandez, IA admin.
Yes.
Okay. Now, and next to each one, there's a date. Next to your signature, is that your handwriting? Did you handwrite the date?
Yes.
Okay. How were you provided these documents to sign?
I remember, I got a lot of documents to sign, but I remember Edna Marie coming to my office one day, and she had these documents, and she said that I had to sign these. And I said, okay. She said, I guess something about we did the destruction or something. I don't know what she said, but anyway, she said, sign this and put this date on here. And I looked at it, and I said, oh, okay. And I signed it and put that date. And that's how I did it.
Okay. And you say you signed it, and she told you to put that date. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming, based on what you've just said, but let's clarify, the date you were being asked to put on the document was not the date you were actually signing the document. You were signing it at some later date.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And from what I understand, from all the sort of collective testimony I've heard, that would have been sometime in October of 2011. Is that correct?
I don't even know what date it was. I really don't know.
Okay. Well, let me ask it this way. Mm-hmm. Fair to say it wasn't like just sometime in May, just a few days later. It was, to your recollection, it was some number of months later, correct?
It could have been. I know. I don't think it was that was then. I'm not too sure, but I don't think it was that.
Okay. Did you question Edna Marie as to why she was asking you to put that date, May 17, 2011, on the document?
No, I didn't question it at all.
To your knowledge, is there anything improper about backdating a document of this nature?
Form.
Well, in all honesty, looking at this now, when I saw 517 on here, that the destruction was done, and Marie being the captain, and she signed that date, and she asked me to sign that date, I assumed that was the date that it was done, that was the day I had to sign it. You know, that was my ignorance on that behalf, because I thought that I had to sign the date that destruction was done, not the date that she gave it to me. So that was just me ignorant on my part, and I should have known better than that, and I didn't, and I signed a date that she told me to sign, not thinking that she would have me sign it the wrong date. So that was my fault.
Okay. So when you were shown the document by Edna Marie, did you already see Edna Marie's signature and the date to the right? Was that already on there?
I think it was. I think I saw both. I think I saw both of them signed.
So you saw Marie's signature for 5/17/11,
right? And
you saw Edna Marie's signature for 5/17/11.
I think that's right.
And if I understand what you just told me correctly, what you're saying to me, Chief Roll, is that you're handed this document, you're seeing both of those signatures with those dates on there. You're being told by Edna Marie to date it that date.
Yeah.
And your assumption, based upon all of those things, was that this must have been the date that the documents were destroyed, and it was okay on your part to date it that same date.
That's exactly my thoughts.
Okay.
When I mentioned that I had signed that date, again, I'm thinking that because you don't think that the secretary will come in there and tell you to sign the wrong date. They can know what she's doing, because I don't have people that come to me, you know, with, I guess, bogus information. And when she came to me, I was busy. I knew I was busy. And she came to me and said, hey, Chief Roll, you know, these are done and you have to sign these, and you got to sign that date. I looked at it and I saw Maria and I saw her signature, and I went like, okay, I'll sign all of them, gave them back to her. Just like that.
You were, I believe, present during the Deegan arbitration?
I was present.
Right. And you heard Edna Marie testify?
I did.
And so you're aware that Edna Marie has testified that when she presented these documents to you, she, at the same time, told you that there were documents reflected there that had not, in fact, been destroyed. That was her testimony.
Yeah,
you remember?
Yeah, she lied.
You recall that testimony?
I recall. Yeah, she lied.
Well,
right.
You say she lied. You mean she lied about telling you that?
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she didn't tell me that.
Okay.
No. Okay. I remember that. She didn't tell me anything, but just, you got to sign that date.
Okay.
That's all she said to me.
And she also said, you know, words to the effect, her testimony was that she expressed concern about having told various parties on public records requests that documents had been destroyed when in fact they had not. That's what she testified that she told you.
I heard it.
I know. And so your response to that is that she did not say that to you?
No, she did not tell me that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said to me that at the time your thought process was that it was okay basically to date it the same date as the date you thought the documents had actually been destroyed, right?
Yes.
That suggests to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, at some later point in time you learned you shouldn't have done that.
Well, for sure. I mean, you know, if if I would have known the form, which was again my knowledge of, well, not knowledge about this form, and I knew I had to sign it the day that it wasn't done, I would sound like I signed anything else. Stuff comes to me all the time that's prepared properly. And it's told to do certain things properly, not improperly, like she did. That was my error, because I guess I trusted her. So I mean, that's what I do, and that's what you get. Plain and simple.
So, I guess if you were to, from what you're telling me, if you knew then what you knew now, so to speak, and she presented these documents to you, you would have dated it whatever the date was that you were actually being presented with the document.
100%.
Okay.
You ever heard the saying, live and learn?
I hear it a lot.
I got it. That's what I got. You live and learn.
Yeah. I know you've indicated to me that you don't recall the exact date that Edna Marie presented this document to you.
I don't.
And I know that you dispute what was said. I get that.
Oh,
But
sure.
but she also testified that the date she asked you to, the date she brought these documents to you was in October of 2011. 2012. Sorry, 2012.
Oh, well, she could have been true on that. I don't know what date it was. I just know that she told me to sign that date. It could have been later on. It could have been earlier. My mistake.
Okay. So my question, and let's try a different frame of reference. Okay. At the date, whatever the date was, at the date when she gave you these documents to sign, to your recollection, was Maria Kent still a lieutenant, or had you already promoted her to captain?
I don't believe it. I think she was a lieutenant. I don't think she was a captain.
Okay, so to your
Is
recollection,
it your
you
understanding
promoted her
that
subsequent to
it is unlawful to backdate a document such as this records?
At the time, I did. I didn't realize it. I didn't know it, and that's my fault.
But you know that now?
Well, I know it now.
Okay. I certainly don't want to invade attorney-client privilege, so just to be careful, and I'll warn you, if your knowledge is coming from that, then just be careful not to talk about a communication, obviously. Have you been questioned at all by FDLE or the state attorney's office regarding these logs? 3 days out.
Nope.
To your knowledge, what motive or reason would Edna Marie Hernandez have to take her own screenshot to show that she had created a fake log 3 days after the public records request?
Form speculation.
I don't know why she did it. I got my own reasoning, but I don't know why she did it.
Well, what's your reasoning?
I think she screwed up
Screwed up how?
doing the instructions. I think she
Meaning
screwed up.
what? I'm not sure.
I think she mean well by trying to go in and shred the files and everything and try to clean the office up.
Mm-hmm.
I think she just didn't know what she was doing and made a mistake. And
But I'm sorry. In your mind, what's the mistake that she made?
made a mistake, probably shredding this stuff.
You mean that she shouldn't have shredded?
I think that she should have shredded it because she wanted to clean it up, but I think she should have did it the right way, and I think she made a mistake and didn't do it the right way.
Okay, so assuming that's proves to be true, for the sake of argument.
Right.
So what you're saying is she, after getting the public records request, realized that she hadn't done it accurately, the destruction?
Yeah, that's just my opinion.
I got you. And so in order to make herself look like she had done it right, she created a fake log after the fact.
Just my belief.
Okay. And I understand your belief. My question to you is, assuming that belief, why would she at the same time take photographic evidence that she did that?
I have no idea.
Would you agree with me, you're a police officer for years, would you agree with me that's inconsistent with someone who is trying to get away with making up a log a year after the fact, taking a picture proving that she did that? You follow me?
Yeah, I'm probably. I don't know why she did what she did, but I have no idea.
Okay.
I just wish.
I know you've done investigations.
I sure have.
Her allegation is that she was asked to do this and she followed her director's command, but took a picture of it to show that. Would you agree with me that the fact of taking the picture and what the picture shows would tend to lend more credibility to her allegation than to Marie Kent's denial?
Form.
I really don't know. In all honesty, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that. Okay. I just know she should have came to me.
All right, let's take a few-minute break.
Okay.
We're going off the record.
Oh.
3:50.
Today's date is May 21st, 2015. The time is approximately 10:24 a.m. This interview of Homestead Police Chief Alexander Rolle is being conducted by Inspectors Brett Lysette and Louis Negrete from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's Office of Executive Investigations. This interview relates to FDLE case number EI 738610 and is being conducted at the Homestead Police Department in Homestead, Florida. Chief Rolle, we spoke previously. I think you understand why we're down here. We got a complaint from a Mr. McDonough that alleges the destruction of public records and potential official misconduct on behalf of yourself. You're familiar, I think, with what Mr. McDonough has implied or alleged, I should say, and that's why we're here today, to just kind of get your statement on those issues. Before we get started, you're providing this interview voluntarily and freely. Is that
Yes,
correct? Okay. Before I swear you in, you understand that if you do provide false statements and/or information under oath, you could be criminally charged with perjury. Okay. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. And do you understand that our interview is being recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And please state your full name, date of birth, and address. If you want it to be your business address, that's fine as well.
Alexander E. Rolle, Jr. The address here is, I think, it's 1601 Southeast 28th Avenue.
Okay. And also present during the interview is Mr. Pablo Tamayo. He is representing the city in this matter at the chief's request. Is that
correct? With on behalf of our law firm, Weiss Sirota, serves the city attorney for Homestead.
Okay. So. All right, appreciate it. Chief, once again, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day. We know you're busy to talk about Mr. McDonough's complaint. So, a little bit of background. Mr. McDonough provided FDLE a complaint. His complaint was that in February of 2014, he met with you with a friend of his, and he wanted to submit a complaint or discuss concerns that he had with a particular officer in your department. Do you recall that meeting?
I recall that.
Okay. During that meeting, Mr. McDonough indicated that he provided you with various pieces of documentation. He provided, and I have them here with me, and you're more than welcome to look at them, basically saying that this package of documentation, there's about 14 separate pieces that he gave us, they're all right here, that over the course of that meeting, which was an hour to an hour and a half per him, that he gave you this information. Do you recall the meeting, and do you recall discussing the concerns with, Mr. McDonough's concerns about his issues with the police officer here at Homestead?
Yes, I recall.
Okay. Do you recall him having documentation, going over documentation, and reviewing documentation that he provided?
No, I've never seen this before.
Okay.
He showed me something else, something he got from Haymans, and
that's it. If you keep going, the stuff from actually, you know what? I apologize. I gave you the wrong. Here, let me give you this. This is the stuff. That was stuff that he gave me later. I apologize. He gave me stuff later on. That's the stuff that he actually said that he brought in here and provided to you. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to go through that stuff and see if that looked familiar to you.
No, I didn't go through it with him. He gave me something. He started sharing information with me about it, and my concern was whatever it was. He was telling me it wasn't good. But my concern was what he actually done here. I'm not concerned about what he did with Haymans before he came here. But I kind of remember him saying something about this guy was in trouble up there, something like that. Okay, that's fine. Whatever he did, I don't tolerate it. I thought it was bad. But as far as me seeing this right here, no.
Okay. Well, and like I said, we wanted to focus. So he did bring documentation with him.
He brought a whole big bag with him.
Okay.
And as far as I can remember, he may have showed me something, but nothing, but I would sit down and just go through and look through the page. He could have showed me something saying, hey, you know, this is what he did and how I live. And I said, okay, well, you know, all right, fine, but what did he do here?
And so how did that meeting end? To the best of your recollection, what happened?
Well, this is what I did, because normally, you know, I don't deal with complaints. That's why I have internal affairs. The way it ended, I got up and I walked out the office, and the guy who was sitting with him walked out behind me. And while I was standing there, he said, hey, Chief, this guy's crazy. Him and his wife, both are crazy. Or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't thinking why he told me that, because I kind of figured out myself when the guy was sitting in there. But for this guy to say that to me, you know, I wasn't thinking that the guy was recording me. But he knew what the guy was doing. Mm-hmm. That's why he came out and made that remark to me. He said, hey, Chief, this guy's weird. Him and his wife both are weird. And I was like, okay. So I came back in, and I think I went to look for Tony Aquino. At the time he was a detective, but now he's a commander. I think I went to look for him. He wasn't where he was. So I called him. He came right down, and I told Tony Aquino, I said, this guy got a complaint. You know, he said, oh, I know what it's about. You know, apparently they've been working on something before, but I couldn't remember what it was. Because he had done some stuff where he called some senators or something. And I told Tony, I said, well, take him to your office down there and take his complaint, and whatever it is, we'll deal with it. I said, because I take complaints very seriously here. Mm-hmm. I have a proven record that I don't play games. And whatever this guy got to do, whether it's minor or major, we're going to look into it and we'll address it. That's what I do.
Okay. Well, and now, and we're happy about that as well. Now, you mentioned the recording that, and we spoke with Mr. McDonough yesterday. He recorded the meeting. My question to you is, were you aware that he was recording the meeting?
I had no idea.
Okay. Did you ever give permission to him to record it? Okay.
No, I don't even speak to the media.
Right.
So I let my guys do it, you know.
Well, and I brought the recording with me, and I just wanted to, as I had mentioned, there's some information on the recording, and we can listen to it. It's up to you. There's two pieces on here that I wanted to reference. There's, well, before we get to that, the recording part, there's many who believe that state statute says that what he did by recording it without your knowledge or authorization is illegal. That was brought to the state attorney's attention here in Miami-Dade by your department, is that correct?
That's correct.
And I believe I have a letter. The Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office decided, for lack of a better term, basically told him, don't do it or we could arrest you for it. And he was not arrested for at least that incident. All right, is that what you remember? Okay. There's two things on the recording. The first one, and we can plug it in if you want, because I put the date or the time stamps on there that I want to talk about. There was one thing that he gave you where you said that you went to go make, and it says that you made a copy of it. Apparently on the tape, you walked out, you made a copy. I think it was a list of things that he put together about bad officers.
Really?
And
I didn't know that.
Okay, and we can plug it in, and that's fine with you. And then at the end of the tape, there was a piece where you had mentioned that you were going to take a look at the documents. Would you like to hear? I mean, I can plug if you have something. If you've got the computer, I think we asked, and we to play that for you, because I just want, like I said, your response of what you recall from that based on this recording. Is that okay with you? Would you like to hear? Would you like to respond?
Not really.
Would you like to respond to it? Does your computer play audio?
Yeah, I'm not. Wait a minute. Let me see. I have to get one of my guys to do it.
Is it? I mean, I can help. Is it on? Okay. Is it on? Is your computer on?
Yeah, it's on.
If I may, that's from the. If you want to put the CD in for me. And again, that thing's about an hour and a half long, and yeah, we're not going to listen to the whole thing, but I wanted to make sure we keep it in. You can just push it in, keep it into context. Mr. Tamayo, the same thing. If we need to go further back to listen to the context, but is it the power on?
Yeah, I ain't touched this thing since I've been in here.
All right, yeah, I think all we need to do is turn.
Yeah, they just changed my
the power on here.
Oh,
No, I got my computer in the car too.
I can get somebody to take care of it.
Is it all right? Can we?
Yeah, what we'll do is we're going to pause the recording at this point, and we'll go back on once we get everything set up, if that's okay. Okay, this is Inspector Brett Lysette with FDLE. This is a continuation of the interview of Homestead Police Chief Alexander Rolle. Prior to coming back on tape, we played Mr. Rolle 2 parts of a audio recording as it related to Mr. McDonough's complaint. The first piece that we talked about, or that you listened to, was there was a portion where he had presented some information about some negative stuff at Homestead Police Department, and you had asked on the tape to go make a copy of it. And on the tape, you went out, and I would assume that it was to make a copy. There was that, and then there was, at the end of the meeting, you had mentioned to Mr. McDonough that asked him what else that you could do for him, and that you were going to take a look at this stuff, or all the stuff, basically referring to, I guess, his stuff. So that just brings me back to our original question. Do you recall, after listening to that now, were there documents that he presented to you that you kept, that you looked at, to the best of your recollection? Can you remember?
I may have looked at them, but I didn't keep anything.
Okay.
And as far as making a copy, I didn't make a copy of anything either.
Okay.
Because I don't make copies. My secretary makes copies.
Okay. Well, would you have gone out and had her make it? I mean, I don't want to split hairs. Would she have made a copy and then given it to you?
Well,
or
at that time, because I heard that, I may have said I'm going to make a copy, but when I went out, I didn't go out to make copies.
Okay.
I went to look for Tony Aquino. I didn't go out to make copies.
All right, so as it... Do you need to get that?
No, that's okay.
So as it relates, let me just summarize this piece of it. You recall the meeting?
I recall the meeting.
That you had with Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
You recall that it was about issues of an officer here at Homestead
Yes.
Police? You do recall him bringing in paperwork?
Yes.
But you do not recall keeping any of the paperwork that he provided?
I wouldn't have kept it. Even if I looked at it, I would have given it back to him because it had nothing to do with Homestead Police Department.
Okay.
The stuff that I've seen, you know.
Right. Well, and you saw some of the stuff was historical stuff based on one of the officers. I mean, he referenced some other things in there that we're not here to get into. But, so you don't recall keeping any of the paperwork?
No.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the reason why I recall keeping anything, because if I called Detective Aquino out here to investigate that would have gone with him.
Right.
I wouldn't kept it because for what reason? I don't investigate stuff. And on top of it, I was thinking when I heard that, if he went down with Tony Aquino to talk to him about the investigation, what was the paperwork? What did he discuss? And when he leave, why didn't he take the paper with him? But I asked for it.
Right, now I got you. So again, the copy part was you don't recall making a copy even though you went out, and the comment of that you'll take a look at the stuff. What does that mean?
That means that I'm going to call the detective down, Internal Affairs, to look at this stuff because that's what I do.
Perfect. Okay.
That's what I do.
So after that, apparently an Internal Affairs investigation was conducted on his specific complaint.
Yes.
And we'll talk to the commander later about that. And eventually, he does a public records request he advised us that he reviewed the IA file.
Correct.
He alleges that the documentation that he gave to you was not included in that IA file.
Right.
So therefore, he goes and he does a public records request, and the exact request was was date stamped at least by the city clerk on September 5th. And the request was copies of all documentation I gave to Chief Rolle on 2/7/2014 regarding my complaint against Officer Magrido. Were you involved? There was later involved, but did you have anything to do with this initial public records request that you remember?
No, I had nothing to do with it.
Okay. So now what he does is he receives some information from the clerk's office. We spoke with the clerk, and they said basically they refer the request to you guys.
Yes.
Homestead puts whatever records together, gives it back to her, and then the clerk's office, and then they send it back to
I have a person in charge.
Okay. McDonough provided us some emails of going back and forth with the deputy clerk who was responsible at the clerk's office for that exchange. And basically the email was that she said he owed some money, and then he received the documentation. He sends a email back, and it basically, shortened version was, this isn't completely responsive to my request because it doesn't have all the other documentation in it that he alleges that he gave to you. He asked the clerk's office to have Homestead PD respond to his concern that I didn't get all the documentation.
Right.
They sent back to him that they did a review and that the police department advised there were no additional documents provided on 2/7/14. Do you remember anybody coming to ask you, at least at that point?
No, one of my captains told me that he had put in a request and said we had some paperwork of his. And I told him I don't have anything belonging to him.
Okay. And what happens is later is after she sent the initial response saying that you guys didn't have anything, he sends another email back and says, Dear Patricia, Miss Sullivan at the clerk, and it says, was this confirmed by Chief Rolle? Chief Rolle was the recipient of these documents which were part of my complaint. These are public records. And then she sends back after speaking, I think, with your custodian of records here, that they spoke. In fact, we got the email from Captain,
Captain Graham?
Captain Mally Graham,
Captain Graham, yes.
Who said that she spoke with you and Detective Aquino on the morning of September 23rd, and they advised that there was no additional Do you remember speaking with her about that?
That was the comment I just made, but she spoke to me about that. I told her I didn't have anything, I didn't see anything. And if I did, he would have had it. I don't have no reason to keep the paperwork.
Lewis, do you have anything? No. Okay. Chief, I just want to summarize real quick, and I already did a little bit, but now that we're at the end, you recall having a meeting with him talking about the officer?
Yes, absolutely.
You recall him bringing in paperwork, but you don't recall keeping any of the paperwork?
No, he brought all this stuff in, but keeping his paperwork,
okay.
I don't know where it's at. I didn't keep it, and I wouldn't have kept it.
Okay.
I had no need for it, and I don't know where it went.
Okay.
Do you remember giving any documentation to Commander Aquino?
I don't know. I don't think I did. I think I gave it back to him. I believe I gave it back to him because whatever he showed me, or whatever I looked at, or whatever, I gave it back to him because I wouldn't have kept it. And if I made a copy of it, I wouldn't have kept his copy. You know what I mean? So I don't understand where he's coming from. I think he's looking for something. It's not there. I don't need to keep the paperwork. I address his complaint with my people, like I always do. I've done that for the 17 years I've been police chief. So whatever he's looking for, he's barking up the wrong tree because I don't.
Right. Bottom line is, you may have looked at some of the stuff that he had, but you did not keep any paperwork.
No, I didn't keep any paperwork.
Okay. And then we talked about you recall people talking to you about the public records request, but weren't actively involved in.
Oh no, I wasn't involved.
Okay.
My secretary Captain Graham, she mentioned something to me one day when I was walking out of my office, and I told her that I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have anything belonging to him. His complaint was with IA. IA dealt with everything. They let me know what's going on once things was finished, but I don't get involved in none of that. I just want to know, has it been taken care of, and what's the outcome? That's my concern.
Do you know what you were referring to at the end of the tape when you actually said, I'll review all this?
I probably was saying that I'm going to give it to Internal Affairs,
okay.
Because, that's what we do, because if stuff comes to me, which this is kind of rare, because really I don't really talk to these people. Mm-hmm. This guy, I think I may have did the mayor a favor, the past mayor a favor, just to talk to him, and he comes up here with a tape recorder. I guess he figured he'd been pushed around by everybody, so I guess he wanted to come up here and just tape me without me even knowing about it. And I don't think I gave his plan, but again, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for his paperwork, so. And I didn't keep anything.
Chief, I was just going to say, I don't have any other questions. I don't think Lewis does. Is there anything that we haven't asked you that you think is important, to what we're looking into our investigation?
No. I'm just curious about why he would say I kept his paperwork. Mm-hmm. That part bothers me, because why would I keep paperwork of him showing me something involving a case with another department, if that was the case? Mm-hmm. But no, I didn't keep anything. He said if I did, if I made a mistake and had it, I would have given it to him before he left here.
Right. Well, he read. There was there was referencing of more documentation about him, the officer talking about potentially lying on an application about drug use and asking you. So there was more documentation that you just looked through that was just more about. But again, you said you don't remember keeping it.
I didn't even look through all that stuff, you know, because, you know, I mean, like I said, you know, it's been a long time. I can't remember everything in detail. I can't sit there and say I do. But I do know that I would not keep anything belonging to someone, especially if it's his personal stuff he brought in here. Unless you know, unless it's something we dealing with the IA complaint he had. And at the time, it wasn't nothing that we needed. And I had my guy to go with him. Whatever his complaint was, whatever he had, you know, give it to us and we'll address it. And I don't know what. I don't think he gave Akino anything either. But that's up to him to tell you that. You know.
Well, with that, we'll conclude the interview. The time is approximately 10:55. If you don't have anything.
Can I just ask one follow-up?
Sure.
Yeah. So, Chief, when you're talking about the IA investigation, you're saying that you have a procedure. You had a procedure in place for if somebody's making a complaint that Aquino or another one of your officers, detectives, would formally receive the complaint and open up a file.
Yes.
Okay. So that wasn't your responsibility. Wasn't part of that process.
No, not at all.
Okay. Which is why anything that was brought in here or discussed here was you redirected to the standard procedures.
That's exactly what I've done for about 17 years I've been here. I would redirect everything to my internal affairs. I don't keep anything on my desk, and I don't do the investigation. I just wait for the findings, and if it's yay or nay or positive or negative, I address it accordingly. That's what I do.
Thank you.
Okay, good. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll conclude the interview. The time is now approximately 10:55 a.m. Chief, thank you, sir, for your time.
Hey, Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County COPWATCH with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me, and I'm sick of it. So I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it. 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt-free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea, too, that we have is, if I got, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. You know, 47,000 of you so far right now. You know, $1 a day. I mean, $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.